Although the topological naming problem seems to be at least well mitigated in recent versions of FreeCAD, we do have some legacies left from it. I recently opened the old design for the dry box pass-through bolt in the latest FreeCAD, allowed it to do the recompute it wanted, and came up with errors. Because of the T&P workarounds, it didn't collapse into an incomprehensible heap, but it also wasn't going to allow any modifications unless or until I fixed the errors. The problem doesn't seem to manifest from making changes to underlying shapes in a current version of FreeCAD. It seems to be specific to models that were created in a version of FreeCAD before the T&P mitigation was in place. The good news is that over time this problem will just kind of fade away. But nevertheless, it's going to be coming up for a while, and models are going to need to be fixed. The errors weren't actually too bad, but I thought I'd do a video outlining what it took to get everything back to right again. The first step is to confidently open my old model. Answer yes to recomputation. Almost immediately, it notifies me of a problem. Looking at the actual model, everything looks just fine, but looking in the model tree, we can see that several steps had errors, and others are stuck waiting to update due to the errors in previous steps. Don't let the model looking okay fool you. It's stuck in that condition, and no modifications can be made until the errors are fixed. This happens because saving a document in FreeCAD preserves all of the data structures, including the feature shapes that were there when the document was saved. Because the feature's execute method is running into an error, the shape never gets updated, so it looks just like it did when it was saved. Now to fix the actual problems. Accomplishing that requires that we start with the innermost dependencies and work our way outward. The innermost failure is the tail socket. I suspect the problem here is the names of the edges of the helix, but there's no need to get into that. Just select the thread profile and the helix, and in the thread profile workbench, redo the sweep. This results in sweep 004, an unerrored version of the thread. Now we need to get it into the tree. The tail socket thread is used as a tool by Cut. Select Cut, and in the data pane, select Tool, and then the three dots to the right. Change the selection from tail socket to sweep 004. Now we can delete the tail socket feature and rename sweep 004 to tail socket. Meanwhile, that caused the recompute and the error on Cut has cleared. So that's done some good. But we still have features that are stuck on recompute, and the top level feature is still in error. The next feature that's stuck is Cut 002. Looking in its data pane, Flair is the tool used for the cut. If I highlight Flair, it looks just fine, but the cut can't recompute with it, so the shape that it's showing is just the leftover. Looking inside Flair, it's actually a loft between two sketches. Sketch 3 is showing an error condition. I make it visible and highlight it. It's clearly not where it belongs. It should be up at the top of the bolt. I happen to remember that, but some old designs may be old enough that you won't really be able to remember what something was supposed to look like. It's always a good idea to keep old versions of FreeCAD available so that you can load up old models and see how they're supposed to work. Fortunately, FreeCAD is free software, so there's no motivation to make older versions disappear as if they never were. To find out what's wrong, open Sketch 003. It complains of malformed constraints. The entire sketch consists of a B-spline as an external geometry, and a circle with a couple of constraints to that geometry to make it a duplicate of the B-spline. I suspect the issue is that the external geometry reference that forms the B-spline has become invalid due to topological naming problem. It refers to a particular edge of the bolt, but the edges got renumbered. I don't think this would come up in a design that started out in a version of FreeCAD with the T&P mitigations, but this old model was created in an older version. I can see by toggling visibility there is a geometry underneath the circle that was supposed to be brought in as external geometry. Since this is such a simple sketch that does nothing but bring in that piece of external geometry and duplicate it, the easiest fix is to delete everything and reconstruct it. So delete the circle and delete the B-spline. Bring in the opening of the tunnel through the bolt as external geometry. Since this is the development version of FreeCAD, we're done. The external geometry is also real geometry, so there's no need to recreate the circle and constrain it. Close the sketch. Like magic, the Flair has recomputed, but the airlock bolt is still in error. I want to get a look at the cut operation that the Flair was used as a tool for, so hide away the airlock bolt and bring in cut 001. It's a little bit hard to see what we're dealing with in wireframe, so adjust the transparency down to a more reasonable value. Highlighting the Flair, we can see that it is no longer in error, but it is very definitely out of place. It's supposed to be at the top of the bolt stem. This is most likely an error in the attachment of the two sketches that made up the Flair. Originally they were attached to the top face of the bolt, so we need to put them back there. Start with sketch 003, reattaching it to the top face. It appears to be back into a reasonable position. Same procedure for sketch 004, and that appears to have it back into position as well. That's cleared up more stuck features, but the airlock bolt is still in error. Everything looks good up to the sacrificial layer that's fused into the design. The report view says that the airlock bolt multi-fusion failed. That's a strong clue that we're on the right path. So let's examine that sacrificial layer. Highlighting it, that is very definitely out of place. The sacrificial layer is supposed to be an extrusion of a shape binder over the inner channel of the bolt. Instead, it's over here on one of the knurls. One more manifestation of the topological naming problem. It can affect sub-object shape binders as well. The underlying shape has been renumbered and the binder has gotten lost. So it looks like we need to recreate the binder and make it a base of the extrusion for the sacrificial layer. But when I try to set the base, I see that binder 004 that was just created isn't available. This can be a pretty confusing issue. What has happened is that the binder is now based on the airlock bolt itself, which is a failed multi-fusion. The problem is we have a loop in the definition. The airlock is based on the sacrificial layer, which is based on the binder, which is based on the airlock. That doesn't work. Instead, the binder needs to be based on cut 003, so that the final fusion doesn't end up referring back to itself. So delete that binder, hide the airlock, and make cut 003 visible. Now recreate the binder based on cut 003. Then edit sacrificial layer to make binder 004 the base and hit Ctrl-R to recompute. The error has been cleared and the airlock is now correct. All is right with our model now. We just have to save it. I prefer to save as here to preserve the original in case I've done something wrong and need to do it all again. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video or found it useful, please like, subscribe, and share. If there's anything you'd like to see covered here, please let me know in the comments below.